Let's go behind the scenes of my sports card business. I'm starting a new series where I'm showing you guys the ins and outs of my sports card business. And today, I want to talk to you guys about specifically buying large lots of cards. I sell singles over on Whatnot, and this means that I'm moving 2,000 to 3,000 cards a month. So I need to buy a lot of cards each month, which means a lot of times I'm buying stacks on stacks on stacks of cards. So I just got in a huge lot, and I wanted to walk you guys through and explain to you my process, how it kind of works, and the ins and outs, behind the scenes, averages, dollars, how much I'm spending on these lots, and just give you that look into behind the curtain of my sports card business. So let's check out the lot. I'm going to show you every single card in it. So I actually want to start with stuff that I didn't buy, which is all of the base that came with this lot. Now this guy just sent off everything, but in this lot was a bunch of base. And now when I'm buying lots, I basically tell people, we can approach it one of two ways. I can buy the base and I'm going to be at a much, much, much lower price. We're talking 33 to 50 cents per card, depending on the lot, what's in it, etc. Or we can split it out and I can look at what the kind of low, mid, and upper end of the decent cards are, and we can go from there. So this guy opted to not have me buy the base, which I think worked out in his favor. This is starting out with our lower end cards. These are singles inserts of non-superstar players or just more common inserts or parallels. So, like Tim Anderson, he's a decent baseball player, but he doesn't really sell well. He's not somebody who I would do much with. Now, these cards I can do something with. These might fit for, sudden death, auctions, lots, things like that. But generally, this is not the kind of stuff that you're going to see make up a large percentage of my auctions, which means that I don't want to pay a ton for this because I know that I'm not realistically going to do much with these. These inserts, especially some of these Topps Chrome inserts, are so common compared to some of the other sets that you just find them all the time. These are super, super easy to find in dollar lots, dollar boxes, etc. Numbered cards you may look at and you say, whoa, wait a minute, that card's out of 99. But if it's a no-name player, it could be out of 20 and who cares? Like this. Jordan Wicks, he's not that great of a player. I know it's a gold rookie, but he'd have to turn into something, which I'm not banking on with Jordan Wicks. So these cards, I all paid 50 cents per on. There was like 100 of these basically, which basically then therefore comes out to $50 for all of these. I know you could probably make a little more if you were to sell these individually, but that's also the name of the game here is you don't want to sell these individually. It's a pain to sell all of these cards, which are realistically at most $1 or $2, individually, sell them in bulk. Maybe you make less, but it's way easier. And that's going to be a theme that we're going to see again and again here. But prices do go up as the quality of the card goes up. Now, next here, we have the cards that were decent. These are some numbered first Bowmans, numbered cards, more common inserts, but of top rookies like Junior Caminero. These are cards that aren't anything crazy. Again, I don't want these to make up the majority of my auctions, but I do recognize that they are solid cards that definitely hold a bit more value than the last lot that you guys saw. And I think that you'll probably see that looking through this as well. These are all cards that I paid $1 on per. Now, some of these cards, no question, are worth, $2, $3, etc. But there's also a lot of them that are probably $1, if not a little bit less. The difference here, though, is it's at least names of players or first Bowman parallels that I can look at and say, okay, yeah, I see a world in which these are reasonably going to sell. Now, there's a decent shot that a lot of these also end up being not anytime auctions, sudden death auctions, but they're nothing crazy. But like Aaron Nola, he's a good baseball player. That's a numbered parallel to him. He's nobody huge. If this was Ronald Acuna or Shohei or Judge or Bobby Witt, this would be in a different pile for sure. Nola, that's probably a $3 card if I had to guess. I may be completely off. One of the things with the card business is that I don't really comp stuff unless it's generally like 20-ish plus, just because it's all about averages for me. And I'm being perfectly honest and whatnot, comps don't matter for better or worse. What's a card worth? It's what somebody's willing to pay for it. And generally, that's where my discussion of hobby intuition comes in. Saying, Bobby Refractor, my guess is that's a $3, $4 card. Maybe. Might be high, might be low. But If I think it's worth that, generally I would think my audience is. I tend to have a pretty good guess as to what cards are going to go for. So this is all stuff, again, $1 per on all of these. I think it's a decent price for me and a decent price for them. They were able to move, again, in bulk. We know that they can definitely make more money if they were to sell this individually, but it's also a lot more work to list 100 of these cards individually to then maybe average $2 per card when these eventually sell, at which point then you got to pay fees. Was it worth it? That's up to you to decide. Now this third lot is where we start getting into some more valuable, nicer cards, parallels, etc. Basically what I told the guy that was selling these is pull out anything that is quality, properly, very nice. We're talking, like Aaron Judge short print. I'm going to show you guys these at the end of the video here, but anything that has quality, very, very solid value, pull that out and we will look at specifically comps on those. Those are going to be anytime auctions for me most likely, not necessarily finding their way into the live whatnot auctions, whereas these will. So on these, we basically worked out and I said, these are all going to be solid parallels of recognizable rookies, vets, things like that. So on this lot, I paid $4 per card. Now that's the upper end of my average. I tend to average, when you look at a full lot, between $2 and $4 per card, assuming there's no base. If there's base, as I said, then all bets are off. We're having a very different conversation. But assuming there's no base, I try and have between $2 and $4 a card. This lot, the majority of it was nicer stuff. This is also a seller that I've bought from time and time again. I have spent tens of thousands of dollars with this seller. So I know that there's going to be nice stuff. Like Yamamoto X-Fractor, that's going to sell well for me. No question. I have no problem paying $4, despite the fact that, Abraham Nunez, that might be a $2 card. I trust him, and this is the importance of relationships in the hobby, to generally break these out, and he trusts me to be fair on these values. So going through these, I basically looked and he split them out, and these ended up being about $4 per card on the lot. That's only 1/3 of it as well. We still got 2 more full stacks to go here, but it's all nice Bowman. This was a nice little run here. A few very solid cards with the Yamamoto, Ellie, the Mason Win. Now the Mason Win's a case hit, but it doesn't do too much in terms of comps. But there's definitely this stack here. I pulled out some of the higher value stuff when I was doing some sorting, making sure that our price overall on the lot was fair. This stack was definitely some of the nicer stuff, but it averaged out to be okay. This stuff, I know I'm going to make some good money on. The margins there at $4 a card is for sure going to be solid. Whereas the margins in some of these lesser named prospects, Brock Wilken, first paper, he's a solid prospect. Ryan Vandenhurt, those are going to be a couple of dollars. So it averages out at the end of the day, which I think is the big thing that you need to be okay with on this side of the business in many different ways. When you're selling low-end singles in such bulk, you're going to take some losses. There are cards that I know that I buy that I lose on, but there are also plenty of cards that I know that I win on. And that's where knowing where it averages out, for me, at the end of a stream, I'm going to make about $10 per card. So if I'm selling 200 cards, I'm making about $2,000 on the stream before fees. That's also, though, inclusive of some of our nicer singles, some of our nicer slabs that are a part of that. So on these singles, I tend to need to be in that $2 to $4 range. Since I know this guy and I know that the nice stuff is going to be nice, I'm okay with paying that $4 per. But if it's lower end stuff that I'm not exactly positive on, well, then we're going to be in the range of that $2 to $3 because you got to mitigate that risk. I know that these lower end singles are probably going to average out to sell for $6 to $7 per. So, and that's before fees again. My goal is to make a couple of bucks on each, which percentage-wise adds up. If you're buying high value, and this is one of the games and the way that I engage and play the business side of the hobby, if you're buying big, expensive $100 cards and you're only making $2-3 per card, you're doing it wrong. It's all about percentages. It's not about dollars. The percentage that I'm making on these, my goal, hopefully, is to double my money. But if I make, 30, 40, 50%, great, that's cool. Moving on to autos real quick. These I also paid $4 on. This is a little interesting because autos can be really, really great. There's some really solid autos in here. But there's also, without a doubt, some no-name ones like Lency Delgado. Never heard of him. White Sox prospect. He was born in 1999. So at this point, he's 25. My guess is he's not playing baseball anymore. And if he is, he's nobody valuable. So where the $4 per auto comes in is some of these will definitely sell and are really solid. But some of these autos, I'm not going to do anything with. I'm not going to be able to sell them. I pull out the no-name players who are prospects who aren't even on a team anymore. They were released. They did not play well. The guys that are hitting below 200. So again, back to that point of averages. I know on these that it averages out. There's going to be some that I know that I'll definitely make more than $4 on. At some point here, there's going to be a nice little run of some very solid autos, which, again, I know that I'll make more than $4 on. But there's also ones that I know that I'm not going to sell at all. So for me, making sure that it comes out in terms of my averages, autos, again, being at $4 a card here, these I will gladly put and consider autos to be on the nicer side of things just because autos are nice. People like autographs. There's no question or debate there. But they are a little more hit and miss. That stack that I paid $4 on of the non-autograph singles, I know that all those cards are solid enough that I'm going to properly sell them. Whereas there's definitely some hit and miss, like Slade here. He's, at least right now, a nobody. And the thing there is that's a rookie card too. So rookie cards, generally by that time, there's not even the hope that they could maybe turn into something necessarily. Some of these lesser named, lesser ranked prospects may not be a huge player, but you also can always take the approach of, for $3 on stream, and I always say this, take a shot. Toss it in a box. You never know. If they turn into something, you could very, very well make some good money. And if not, you lost a few dollars, which, end of the world, that's absolutely not it. But autos, again, another one that's cool name, but he's a nobody. Cannon Smith-Njigba, brother of Jackson Smith-Njigba, interestingly enough. But autos are definitely fun. At $4 per, this basically puts me on the nice stuff, nice singles that are non-autographed, as well as the autos, at basically $1,400 for all of it. So $1,400 for some of the nicer autos. So Churio, Jace Young, it's not a first, but Rafaela and Austin Wells is another very good one. So on all of those, on the nice autos as well as the nice singles, we are looking at about $1,400. And then we add $150 for the low end and the lower middle end cards. So that gets us to $1,550 for all of it. But we still have one more stack of cards, which is some of our nicer singles, which I went out, and actually my seller went out and comped these all to give you an exact value so that these I could pay more fairly on. And these ended up being, what was it, $400-ish? I can't remember the exact number, but the Westberg is a $30 card. The Dominguez is $120, so that's $150. The Ellie is a $20 card. Skeens is probably $40, so we're at $30, $150, $170. Let's call it $30 for $200. The Acuna, very cool in the buyback MVP. That's a $50 card. Judge is $30 or $40. This Judge, awesome card in the short print. This is $50, so that gets us up into the 320-ish, 330 range. Ohtani's $70, so that's definitely $400 now. And then 4 Ohtani buybacks. We just I paid $15 per on those. I figured that was fair. And then the nicest one of the lot was the Ellie. These two $175. So I think basically these cards specifically comped at $550-ish. Doing some quick rough math in my head, but paid enough on those. Ultimately, the lot ended up being just about $2,000, which for me, overall, I knew that I ended up with about 550 total cards. And with those 550 cards, that means that I'm at, on average for all of them, just under $4 a card. I know that the bulk and majority of it is the nicer stuff that I had. And I also know that I have some of these higher value cards that will absolutely help the overall value of the lot itself, which is ultimately important at the end of the day when playing this game and when looking at this. For me, I want to be in that $2 to $4 range. If it's somebody that I've worked with and trust and established that relationship, I'm okay with doing that. And he's also okay with sending me cards and just saying, hey, Alex, are you willing to just look through this and then tell me what you think is fair? That happens all the time. People send me stuff and just say, hey, give me a price that you feel is fair, and that works. So overall, about $2,000 for this lot. Curious what you guys think. Do you think that's a fair price? How do you think I'm going to do on it? All these singles will eventually end up on Whatnot. These ones are probably going to be anytime auctions. One of the other notes as well, of course, is I don't think most of these are gradable. I know grades stuff, which is one of the things to be aware of. I have people that I buy from who don't grade. He does. And so I know, like this Westberg has a little bit of a mark right there next to the autograph. Small stuff, they all would probably get 9s, but it's probably not worth it for me to go and grade them. It's probably better to just sell them as is. But working through that and knowing that I think I'm going to do pretty well. I think that I was decently fair, but I'm curious on you guys' perspective. Let me know in the comments what you think. How do you think I did in this lot? Would you like to see more lot breakdowns, buys that I'm making, things like that? I'm happy to show off mail days. I get in a lot of cards. There are so many cards coming in and out every single month, so I always show off when I go to card shows and things like that. But I don't do big mail days like this as often, so if you want to see that, let me know in the comments. Hope you guys like this breakdown, and I'm going to plan to do some more of these behind the scenes of the card business, so make sure to be on the lookout for that. If you're not already, subscribing, following, appreciate all the engagement, and we will catch you in the next one.